they've learned how to do it at the most minute levels that will propel you forward and help to teach you how to do everything. And as much as that's empowered me in helping adults, now that I'm working with young athletes, which honestly was always my passion, because the struggles I had as a young athlete, I wanted to make it so they didn't have to go through what I went through.
I think all of us can have that similar aspiration. We want to see people to go through less pain, to go through better athleticism. We want to see them to be the top.
Yeah.
TOP.
Yeah. Exactly. And so it's just sort of made me reflect on that this past bunch of weeks that I've been kind of going between stuff, but you kind of actually said something about I walked in here today and you were talking about blending up your bulletproof coffee, and I'm on fire today from my bulletproof coffee, and you were talking about inflammation. How have you sort of, and I know you're sort of kind of dealing with probably from a lot of the driving, because you drove from Pennsylvania, a lot of the
West Virginia to Pennsylvania, back to New York City, then back down this way.
And from someone who's been commuting, an hour away, and then also doing multiple commutes and hitting about 3 hours in the car a day, it's been crippling my knees, and hurting my upper back. I'm developing a rounded upper back, which I never had struggles with. And my solution to that is I bought a rower, and I'm going to row every morning and do a ton of extension to balance out my flexion. I can't wait for that to come. I ordered it from Fringe. Come on, Fringe. Deliver it to me soon. But, so I can imagine that you would have those flare-ups, and you're always going to, as we said, you have that vulnerability that you always have to kind of work with, in and out and in and out. But how are some of the ways that you were able to maybe use some of these changes? I'm guessing in decreasing your inflammation, with a coffee that has obviously good saturated fats, and kind of tell us a little bit about that.
Well, as far as the coffee goes, I don't know if that's something I'm probably going to keep searching for the rest of my life. Can I still drink my coffee? It's something I think many of us just have such a strong grip onto. Bulletproof coffee is going to be one of the better ways to consume your coffee, I must say, especially something that's anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, such as coconut oil. Throw some grass-fed butter in there. Get your cholesterol. Keep your hormones vital. Something I'm currently experimenting with is I'm making bulletproof teas. I think is another supplement as opposed to bulletproof coffee. I'm currently experimenting with a nice little mixture. I got to get a coin on this mixture. It's nice. Chaga mushroom, cacao nibs or cocoa nibs, and rooibos tea. And this is a wonderful concoction. It's definitely an amazing replacement for coffee. The chaga mushroom gives it a nice, full, robust flavor like you're seeking in coffee. Now, you don't get the immediate caffeine buzz like you would with coffee, but you are getting that rich flavor. It's kind of like these nice little beer supplements. You know how a lot of people are going from beer and alcohol to kombucha or kefir or something you were telling me about earlier today, ginger beer, something that doesn't have alcohol content, correct?
Right.
All of these things will definitely reduce inflammation. I think ultimately, as far as the concern as coffee goes, coffee will put stress on the adrenal system. If there is stresses on the adrenal system, your body is going to be able to overcome inflammation as easily as if your thyroid and your testosterone and all of your adrenals are just robust and full of life and vigor. And there's so many other things. I liked how you said you got a row machine. I think stagnation. You were talking about being in a car for so many hours a day. I can so relate to that. It will definitely things get to sit for a little while, or even as we're doing, sitting in stools, better than chairs.
Yes, better than chairs.
But sitting in stools, just sitting there for a period of time, will cause the body to stagnate. If we think about this whole rewilding movement, this whole, let's examine the indigenous people. They must have known what was going on,
right.
Whether or not they knew everything.
they
were
anything.
Exactly. They were following intuition. They got up with the sun and they were moving. They go out, they hunt. They're gathering. They're when they come home, they get the fuck. They get to that's what they live for. They get up. They move around all day long. They eat. They sleep with their spouse. In our situation, we're men. We get to go home. We get to go make love to our women and make babies. And there's no stagnant. Where did you see an Indian just sure? There's time for reflection. There's time to sit down and let the body relax. But as far as inflammation goes, I strongly believe that the lymphatic system and the body needs to be in constant motion. Yeah. Otherwise, it will become to stagnate, and that is where your potential inflammation will sit there and build up.
That's an amazing point that you make, especially about the stagnation, and going back to the taxing the adrenals with the caffeine is. It kind of goes right back to what I was saying about everybody's built with a certain buffer, and you can work with someone who they don't have the the sensitivity of the adrenals where that extra caffeine is really not going to tax them. Where
sure, yes.
for you you don't have that. You don't have that buffer because you've been compromised for years, and so I think that's an amazing little way that you're kind of circumventing that and kind of trying to find something that will work for you in the long term and be more just help your compliance and also help you enjoy maybe coffee occasionally because it's not something you're doing all the time.
Oh, that cup of coffee I had yesterday just felt like heaven. I did have my cheat day when it came to coffee, but it was the best bulletproof coffee I could have made.
What beans did you use?
I used some locally roasted. I forget the name of the farmers. What? Locally roasted beans. Freshly ground, coconut oil, a little bit of grass-fed butter, some xylitol, because I don't like to spike my insulin with coffee.
Oh, okay.
Or stevia is a good choice, I think. Mm-hmm. And then a nice little, I like the company I recently got a hold of, Naked Whey Protein. It's a goat whey protein. Oh, and for me personally, I have seen, I got to throw this little tidbit out there. I think intuition is your best doctor ever. Great. I don't personally do very well with milk that comes, or dairy, any kind of dairy that comes from cows.
Same here.
I do much better with goat protein.
Yeah. I'll have to try that out because I've actually discovered that not only do I struggle with the lactose, but I struggle with the casein too. So I'm right there with you. Whey protein throws me into just pain. And cheese, any of that. And what's so interesting is I grew up on milk and I grew up on all these things, and I wonder if it was honestly exacerbating so much. So I had IBS as a kid, irritable bowel syndrome, and
I've helped some people.
Yeah, and I had IBS back when it was new, and it was kind of like creeping up, and it wasn't much known about it. And what's fascinating is that really the way to cure, I mean, you can really help people with IBS. I mean, you can almost purely eliminate it with the, reducing the inflammation, taking things out of the diet that increase that. And I lived in a time, or in a house maybe, where it was all about, quote, bland foods. So the bland foods, it turns out, were destroying my gut and destroying my probiotics. And
when you say bland food, I didn't mean to cut you off. My mother went off on a similar theory, something bland, but her version of bland was, I want to hear yours. My mom would, have, not to bash on my mother. She's a wonderful lady that's much more educated now. She would feed me, the regular plain Cheerios as opposed to the sugared up ones, or the rice bran Cheerios, or instead of frosted
flakes. Yeah.
No, not frosted flakes. The little square things.
Oh, the
frosted mini bites.
Yeah, or Muddy Buddies.
Yeah, whichever. She would just always get the plain version that had less sugar.
Right. So for me, we tested all these things, right? And we tested whether I was lactose intolerant.
No, I remember that.
Right, but lactose intolerance was not really what was doing it. It was probably the cow that was fed grain and soy and
the pasteurization.
Right, and it was damaging my immune system and my gut flora and my bacteria, and it was basically destroying a lot of things. A lot of white products like whole grain, right? The whole grain myth that okay, well, let's have whole grain, and when your stomach hurts, let's not have protein, let's not have vegetables, and let's not have much fat. Let's just do a very simple carbohydrate meal.
Something that was
white
easier.
Potatoes, this kind of almost like pasta, or let's stay white because white is bland, and yet now we know so far different that white is almost red, right? If red is inflammation, white is red, right is fire.
Absolutely.
And it was like fire in the gut, fire in the brain, and it's no wonder that I struggled with just mental issues just depression and all these other things which are now linked to gut inflammation.
I want to go back to the whey protein that we were recently discussing. I think we dropped that off some people who might be listening. Oh, well, whey protein might be bothering me too. What did you do? I think goat is a good one. It's closest to mother's milk, and not only that, but you were telling me something about collagen. Yeah. What was it? The protein collagen?
So Dave Asprey at the Bulletproof Exec is where I really kind of picked up on collagen, but it's we don't really get collagen in our diet anymore, and collagen is basically the proteins that make up the structure of your connective tissues, your bones, your ligaments, your joints. And this was ripe in the diet of hunters because they used to eat, full animal. They used to eat actually the connective tissue. They used to make bone broth, things like that. And we're really lacking in the organ meats, and which I really want to get into, but it's a process to get into. But the bone broths and things like that. So a really great way to immediately improve your skin, your hair, your joints is to add a collagen protein. And I was looking for kind of you always want to obviously go from a cow that's fed grass, a pure, eat an animal or parts of an animal that have been fed nutritious food, because you're not just the things you eat, you're the things that you eat. And a cow that's fed grass, what's interesting is the nutrient density. We want to talk about vegetables being highly nutrient dense, but animals like grass, who are fed natural diets, are actually more nutrient dense, right? The grass-fed cows have B vitamins and iron and omega-3s and all this amazing nutrients because they've been eating all that wheatgrass and all those green things that we like to eat. The cow's already been eating it.
Yeah.
The cow's been eating all those greens that we've been eating. It's been eating the greens. It's by digesting them, making them a part of its tissue, and then we go eat that tissue, and all of a sudden we're eating all the greens it ate, right? So the collagen is so much higher quality, and so one company that I was turned on to actually at PaleoFX last year was a company called Vital Proteins, and they have a really it's well priced. It's a grass-fed protein that's cows that are raised in pastures, and I actually take it with my magnesium drink at night.
Nice. Okay.
So I put it in my Natural Calm. So I take my Natural Calm magnesium drink, and I put 2 scoops of collagen, and let my body repair with some collagen and relax with some magnesium.
Now, have you had any, since being very wholesome? I'm just trying to think as far as anybody that might have trouble with. I love different types of meat. I still struggle with grass-fed cows these days.
Interesting.
Even steak, organ meats. Things that are supposed to be good for us and anti-inflammatory.